And welcome back into another edition of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire, where everyone here except Brandon Davis loves your team and he hates your team, no matter who your team is. That's Brandon Davis. That's what we do. But we appreciate you for joining us, whether you're on YouTube or you found us on Spotify or iTunes. Be sure to like and subscribe and share the podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels. We got the usual suspects here, like Jared Schatz, the voice of the Germantown Mavericks.
Fellas, planes, trains, and automobiles. That's what it sounded like when I was driving in the car Friday night and tuned into the MRA broadcast. Great broadcast, but I don't know how you boys kept your composure because it was loud with all the sound effects and the horn going off in the background. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, I got to listen to that as well, and Ross Haley and company did a good job on that one. Exciting ball game to call. Yeah, that was a fun one to listen to. But Brandon Davis from the Warren Central Vikings, he had the week off, and he was probably somewhere just taking out on mint chocolate chip ice cream. What were you doing this weekend, Brandon?
No, I was hiding from those maniacs from West Point. Don't y'all know that I truly do love you? I mean, Brett Morgan sent me his shirt, for goodness sakes. I love West Point. And I tell you, if you play Tupelo 5 times, you might beat them 3, okay? I'm giving you an extra game, but I do love you. No, I do want to give a shout out here to high school football in Mississippi is so great because of the fans. I want to give a shout out to Willis Hanna, super fan at Kosciuszko. I've heard a lot about you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And I know you guys have a big game this week against Louisville. So Willis Hanna, if you see him, give him a handshake and buy him a drink. So yeah, good to be here, guys.
Gatorade,
absolutely. Gatorade.
That's what we meant. That's what we got in the drink right here. We got Gatorade right here in the State Championship Radio Network swag. But also on the podcast, Jake Wimberly, the voice of the Brandon Bulldogs. Once again, he's got the hair all covered up with the I like him representing JSU though. I love Jake Wimberly.
Absolutely. We'll have to bring the hair back up. Just resting it for tonight, getting into October, so you have to do some hair maintenance, and that's what I'm going to pretend that we're doing right now, but I really just wanted to wear the Jackson State hat today. But no, hey, later on in the show, we'll tell you a little bit about offensive numbers in Rankin County, as some of these numbers may shock several people a lot, because, we've kind of gone Stone Age here in Rankin County this year. It seems like offensive football. We're going to talk about that later on in the show.
All right. And Caleb Hamill, our producer, anything you want to chime in and say? He's always in our ear listening.
I feel like this is the week of learning things. Yeah, this week I learned that Brandon Davis thinks West Point is the mint chocolate chip ice cream of high school football. I learned that you can play 5 overtimes and still have a 6-0 result. And in the case of my game, South Jones, you can have over 100 yards in penalties, have 5 turnovers, and still win a ball game 35-7. So high school football at its finest.
That's right, and that's what we love about high school football. We're going to talk all about that right here this week on the Varsity Voices podcast. This pregame segment is brought to you by Oxford Falls and Sizemore Catering. You can get free shipping on all orders over $100 if you visit them at theoxfordfalls.com. And they got great sauces, comeback sauce, finishing sauces, whatever. I believe they were at a big market this weekend. Canton Flea Market's coming up, and I believe they're going to be able to pick up some at the Canton Flea Market. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, if you want some Oxford Falls for that tailgate, or you got parties coming up for the holiday season, visit theoxfordfalls.com. Well, hey, that gets us ready for the pregame. We're going to jump right into our first quarter back right after this here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
At C Spire, we've never waited on the future. We've built it. By harnessing the power of advanced technology to transform how we all live and work. Elevating connected living, accelerating tomorrow's business growth, and leading the AI revolution. All while staying true to our core purpose. You. Think we're done? Just wait. There's more to see. C Spire. Customer inspired.
She had a good coach that pointed her in the right direction, and we were able to get to her quick enough, and she's young and healthy enough that she's going to have a great outcome.
I would say the biggest difference is just how Dr. Moss explained everything. I went into my second surgery knowing exactly what after surgery was going to look like, what during surgery was going to look like, and it just made me feel a lot more comfortable and confident with my outcome.
And welcome back in to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. It is our first quarter where we give our overreactions and reactions, and we like to say, is the sky falling for your team or what is it doing? But first up, we want to tell you that this segment is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine. Whether you're on the field or in the stands, get back to what you love fast with same-day appointments and no referral needed. Visit MississippiSportsMedicine.com to schedule an appointment today. Well, yeah, let's go back and take a look at some games from last week. And the number one team in the state, West Point, had no problem whatsoever with Callaway, 42-0. Tupelo had no problem at all. The number two team in the state with Hartfield, that was 35-0. But the number three team in the state, Ocean Springs, did have a problem, Brandon Davis, with the Admirals of Gulfport, and the Greyhounds took their first loss 41-28.
Yeah, before we get into that, though, and I'll get into it briefly, I want to tell all you maniacs at West Point, I love you. Congratulations, the win over Callaway. I do love you guys.
Oh, he didn't.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I tell you what, yeah, you guys, a bunch of jackals. But no, you talk about the sky falling. I think the folks down at Ocean Springs think the sky's falling. We have built this bunch up so many weeks, and people are talking about, even Chris Brooks talked about, maybe this is time for them to take off. And they came away, they got punched in the mouth last Friday night. Gulfport 41-28 over Ocean Springs. Gulfport won in all three phases of the game, guys. I mean, special teams had 2 blocked punts. The defense held Ocean Springs to 3 scores. And then offensively, Cooper Crosby, he just named to the Al Miss roster, running back, was phenomenal. Gulfport took a 20-7 lead into the half. They just kept pulling away. Like we said, they won 41-28. Crosby had 5 touchdowns on the night for the Admirals. Solomon Baggett, though, from Ocean Springs, back that Jared's talked about a lot, he had 230 yards and 3 touchdowns on the night in the loss. But it was just a fantastic effort from Crosby and the Admirals, a big win down there for Gulfport. And I heard a stat, and I went to look this. Jake, you might know. This is the first region loss for Ocean Springs in 5 years. So that's insane.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
real?
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
5 years. So, any rate, Gulfport punched them in the mouth. A huge win for the Admirals.
Yeah, I still like that mascot matchup too. The Admirals and the Greyhounds, great mascot matchup. And then another one there in the metro area was an instant classic, and that featured the number 6 team in the state, the Oxford Chargers, getting a 2-point win over Madison Central. It was 16-14. And Jared, when we say this one went right down to the wire, it went right down to the very last second.
It did. And, it actually started out fireworks for both teams. Madison Central had 14 points, and Oxford had 13 in the first quarter alone. And the only points were an Oxford field goal in that third quarter. The Jaguars did try to tee up a very long field goal as time expired, but came up. Actually, I think he had the distance, just pushed it a little bit left, a 58-yard field goal, which would have been something else at the horn to try to make that kick to beat Oxford. Look, we've been high on Oxford. I know some of the other parts of the state are catching up, and when you're in North Mississippi and you've got West Point down the road and Tupelo and Starkville, you kind of get overshadowed. But we've been high on Oxford. They ended one streak against Grenada. We're very close against Tupelo. But this is a football team that, I really think is going to challenge for District 2 7A. Credit to Madison Central. I don't think a lot of people gave them, any kind of chance of winning this ball game. The ball game was at MC. They got off to that early lead, and it's their offense that got out to that early lead. But that offense is starting to get better, and they will have an off week. Trip Smith, the quarterback, did a really good job in this ball game, threw for 211 yards in the loss. Tylen Hutchins, his star wideout that he throws to, those guys are getting confidence each week. And then you talk about, Drew Dean and Oxford, and then that massive running back they have. That was a really good football game to watch, an old school throwback. And I think both of these teams are going to find for a playoff spot, coming up here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, Oxford, as you said, against Tupelo, they had them. They were up 13-0 on Tupelo before the Golden Wave were able to come back and win that ball game. Looking at a few other ball games, Holmes County Central had no problems with Greenwood. I thought that might be a close game. Greenwood was rolling, but Holmes County Central 42-0 over the Bulldogs of Greenwood. Some from the Pick'ems from last week. D'Iberville, no problems with West Harrison, 25 28-7. Also, past Christian got a win over the fighting Brandon Davises there, the 28-14 over Greene County, in a battle of 1A schools. The Biggersville Lions take down the defending 1A state champs Baldwin 27-6. And then we'll get back to the metro area with Jake Wimberly. And it was a close game over there in Flowood. Maybe not quite as exciting as the game that we just talked about with Oxford and Madison Central, but still a close game between Brandon and Northwest Rankin.
Yeah, this game last year, Brandon won this game 45-22 or 23 or 24, somewhere in there. It was the mid-20s for Northwest Rankin. This game, totally different. Brandon without their starting quarterback, Sladen Shack, he was in injury protocol, as we're calling it, just because he had some bumps and bruises. They were trying to get him healthy. But, wanted to take several takeaways from this. One, Brandon's defense is one of the best in the state. There's no doubt about it. But you can't win these games like this each and every week. The Dogs are going to have to find an semblance of offense. And I think one of the biggest disappointments here is, are you telling me that that Brandon really doesn't have a backup quarterback, a guy that can throw one forward pass? For the first time in 15 to 20 years, Brandon had 0 passing yards in a ballgame. Not one passing yard in that ballgame. Now, Northwest Rankin, credit what Devin Cooper's done. They're a nice football team. Jared, I know you had a chance to see them this year. Brandon, I think you might have had a chance to see them, but they're a really good football team. They're going to probably get a playoff spot. They'll beat some people down the stretch, but 3-0. I mean, I thought that was a game that was literally going to go into the end of regulation with no score and go to overtime. But hey, you get the win. That is the only stat that matters. And now Brandon has an off week, and they'll have an opportunity to get people healthy. And to try to get this offense rolling as they head into their second region game against Petal in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that off week. Some coaches don't like the off week, but sometimes it comes right when you need it. If you're Brandon, Jared.
Just you said it. You're 1-0 in the district. That's huge. But when you have Tyson Robinson on the field, Deshaun Dillon on the other side for Northwest Rankin, these are monsters. I mean, these are absolute beasts on the offensive side for each team. And the fact that you're able to only get 3 points out of the ball game. I'm just in general, guys. I feel like defense has been much better across the board in high school football this year.
Oh, I agree with that. No, it really has. There's been some really good defensive football teams out there.
Yeah, I would say so. From the games that I've been able to go with Kosciuszko and looking at things like that, I would say I agree. Continuing to look at some games from last week. Now we got we got Brandon Davis versus Jake Wimberly here, Vicksburg and Florence. I mean, I'm talking about the towns, maybe not the schools. The towns, not the schools. So
you're associating Davis with the Gators. I love it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, he's our guy on the ground there, boots on the ground there in the River City. He's going to tell us about Vicksburg and Florence with the Gators getting the win over the Eagles, 39-35.
And this is a game that a lot of people weren't talking about, but afterwards they were talking about it. And this was a must-win for Vicksburg. They're in an extremely tough region with Lanier, Cleveland Central, Home Central. So if they lost this game to Florence, they're already going to be behind the 8 ball because those 3 other games I just talked about, or other teams I talked about, they're going to be tough to beat. And Vicksburg's a young team that has some nice pieces, but they're still trying to put it all together. But it was homecoming down at the Swamp. It was a roller coaster of a ball game. Vicksburg was in control most of the game, but they allowed Florence to score 22 unanswered points in the third quarter. Florence took a 28-24 lead into the third. With about 5 minutes to go in the ball game, this is where it really got crazy. 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Florence was leading 35-24, and it's like, all right, this game's over with. But somehow Vicksburg was able to claw back into this one. Jamel Maxey, a young man, their quarterback, we talked about him on our preseason watch list. He hit Jadarius Henderson on a 4th and goal. I mean, we thought the game was over there. A 4th and goal, they hit him for a touchdown, then they converted the 2-point conversion. So now it's 35-32 with 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Florence was not able to get a first down to win this ball game, and so their offense stalled. They kicked it back to Vicksburg. The Gators get it with 1:30 to go in the ball game. Driving down the field, and Maxey hit Thomas McKnight for the go-ahead 47-yard touchdown pass. And then Florence gets the ball back with under a minute to go, and they throw an interception. Game's over with. But Maxey went 11 of 16 for 217 yards, had 3 touchdowns. But it was what's crazy is Vicksburg overcame an 11-point deficit with like 5 minutes to go to get their first win. So good job for Chris Lacey. Congratulations to him. But this was really a must win to go 1-0 in region play But yeah, Florence can look back at this one and wish they had it back, because this was a very exciting game here in Vicksburg the other night.
Yeah, big win there for the Gators. And then just across the river into Louisiana, MRA goes on the road, Jared. And last week you were the one that said maybe MRA could be the number 2 team in the state if they go over and beat Catholic. Well, Jared, that's what they did. They went over and they beat Catholic by 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their resume. I mean, they should have beaten Ravenwood, Tennessee. That was a ball game they went up early in, and they couldn't hold on. But you look at the resume, the overall body of work, and then to go beat Catholic in Baton Rouge. And I don't know if you guys, I know you guys had ball games, and I got out early of mine before we went and did the scoreboard show, but they had, I'm telling you, it was in Baton Rouge. It sounded like they were playing in Death Valley. They had this horn that would go off. Yes, it sounded like a locomotive was running through the stadium. I mean, it was loud. How in the world it's legal, I have no idea. But they literally went to Baton Rouge and played in a facility that was a lot like Death Valley as far as a high school standpoint. It was a big stadium, very loud, and went down there and got a win. This team almost beat West Monroe. Catholic did the week before. You look at the wins that MRA has. They beat JA the week before. I mean, it's murderer's row for MRA, and you could make a case. I don't want to make the people mad in Tupelo like Brandon has over in West Point. You know, I don't want to do that, but you could make a case MRA definitely top 3. I'll just say that. But yeah, the way they won that ball game, they went up in the ball game, and then Catholic fought back. Catholic got a late touchdown with under a minute left. They lined up for the extra point. MRA jumps offside, and then they went for 2. So they had it at the 1.5-yard line. They go for 2. MRA holds them out. Tremendous ball game. Sam Stockett and crew, they find a way to win, man, and they're battle tested. That's a football team I would not want to play. I just, if they can stay healthy, I just really think that they're the team to beat in MAIS.
Yeah, I got to listen to a little bit of that ball game as well. My game got done early, and you could hear Ross Haley and the crew barely talking over that horn that was just going. I mean, it sounded like they were at a train depot. I mean, whoever it was had this like their hand on a button. It was just non-stop. I'm with Shots there. I don't know how that.
Wouldn't you like that job though? Wouldn't you like that job? Hey man, just hit the ridiculously loud locomotive noise.
The horn guy.
Yeah, you're the horn man.
Yeah.
Right? Is it Miami, the Hurricanes, where they have a siren down there? That
it's very similar. Yes.
Michael Irvin's been doing every week since Miami's been good again. So. Brandon, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so just something to think about here. So Catholic goes for 2. Okay, I know that that MRA jumped off sides and they moved it to the 1.5-yard line. They decided to go for 2. That right there, and it's little things like this that makes me think, but that right there tells you how much respect they had for MRA, knowing that they're the home team and they want to go for 2 to maybe win this game and get out of there alive. Not kicking the extra point and going for overtime, which if you're at home and you're a team like they are, you would think with the advantage you would have in overtime. But for them to roll the dice to go for 2, and then MRA being able to stop them, that's remarkable to me. And that just tells you what they think of what MRA is able to do as a team.
Yeah, we'll keep it with you, Brandon, real quickly, and we'll talk a little bit about Clarkdale and Bay Springs. That was one of our big pick'em games from last week, and Clarkdale able to get the win there.
And I picked against Coach Roberts and the boys from Clarkdale. That slapped my wrist on that. But Breck, do you remember a young man from Clarkdale named Jake Lee? He was a pitcher. For the baseball team. One of their aces. Yeah, one of their aces. And their head skipper told me, I worked that game. They told me, he said, our back's against the wall. This is a kid we're going to throw out there. Well, I did not know that he is a starting quarterback for Clarkdale. And not only can the boy play baseball, he can also play some football too. So Clarkdale goes in to Bay Springs. It's homecoming for Bay Springs. Bay Springs also has a 16-game winning streak over Clarkdale. And Bay Springs, Malachi Owens, we talked about him. He came in, he was averaging 162 yards a game on the ground. But this Clarkdale defense, the defensive line was remarkable. They showed up, they played lights out all night. And Bay Springs offensive line just struggled. They could not get anything going offensively. Leland Harris, we talked about him last week, running back from Clarkdale. He punched it in to start things off. They went up 6-0. And Basically, they just played defense. It was defensive slugfest all night. But Clarkdale went 6-0, a huge win. They snapped a 16-game losing streak to Bay Springs, and they have a huge game coming up next week against an undefeated Union team. So congratulations to Coach Roberts, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, we might talk about Clarkdale versus Union a little bit later. A few other ones to mention before we get out of here. Looking at Choctaw Central and League Central. League Central dropping 60. The Gators putting 60 on Choctaw Central. Those are rivals just right down the road. Also, you had Nanawaya and Leake County. Leake County's 1-5. They take Nanawaya to overtime, and Nanawaya gets the win 20-14. Coach Junior Graham, I had an interview with him this week from Ethel, and he said that Leake County, he said they're 1-5. They're the best 1-5 team he's ever seen, and Ethel's got to play them this week. And speaking of Ethel, they get the win 28-14 over the McAdams Bulldogs in the Itala County Super Bowl. You got Jake Newman, quarterback, carried it 10 times for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Matthew Arnold got a big 35-yard punt return there. That was a close one, 8-6 at halftime. I mean, that whole side of the county was just, I mean, you could just see it. Like, everybody was there at that one. They left for Kosciuszko because Kosciuszko's game got done early, and they went down to McAdams for that one. So that was a big game and a big win there for the Ethel Tigers. Shots.
Yeah, before we end this first segment, I want everybody to know kind of what a weird Friday it was. So you had the Brandon Northwest Rankin game, 3-0. Jake said, how many years had it been since Brandon had not thrown a forward pass in a ball game or have any yards?
I think at least 15 officially. I think it's probably more than that, for being honest.
So you have that in the modern era where, it's all about offense and whatnot. And then there was a ball game. Was it Forest County AHS and then Moss Point that went to 5 overtimes, and the final score was 6-0. Never heard of that in my life.
Unbelievable.
It was a stupid Friday.
What's the meme from, is it Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, where Frank Beamer's like this? They're going into overtime 0-0, and he's all happy. Yeah. That's the meme from
I
now.
I just wish I would have known what happened in the ball game. Did they not try special teams? I mean, obviously
nothing happened in the ball game there. But hopefully we don't have any of those type games this week. But yeah, you just heard us talking about Catholic having that train horn for home field advantage. But if you want to give your business the home field advantage, you can do it with C Spire, end-to-end business solutions, already serving 49 states, starting with yours. Get the technology you need today at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. So that wraps up the first quarter. When we come back, we're going to get into our weekly discussion and see what Brandon Davis has on his whiteboard. It's probably I Hate West Point, but we'll see what he has on the whiteboard back there right after this here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Hey, it's me, Gus the Gopher for Atmos Energy. I dig all around the yard. Occasionally, I bump into a utility line and get a headache. But if you hit one with your shovel, backhoe, or ditch digger, you could cause a gas leak, disrupt service, or worse. So call 811 at least 3 business days before you or someone else digs in your yard to have those underground utility-owned lines marked. It's free and it's the law. You dig what I'm saying? For more on safe digging, visit atmosenergy.com/811.
From the seed and the soil grows row after row. We take care of this land using just the right amount of our natural resources and never more than we need.
We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
Welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. This is our second quarter, and our second quarters are brought to you by Atmos Energy. Call 811 before you dig. And you know what we dig? We dig what Brandon Davis has on the whiteboard each and every week, as long as it's not, hating on any specific teams or anything. So, Brandon, what is in your whiteboard, which is in your Environment Masters studio?
Thank you so much, Uncle Breck. So the Environment Masters drawing board this week, we wanted to do something a little different. You know, we've talked about food and we've fought over that. We've had brotherly love fights over that. I didn't want to fight anymore this week. So something we've talked about rivalries in the state. In the high school, we have some awesome ones: Skunk Bowl, Battle of the Bell, the Little Egg Bowl. There are numerous ones that we could talk about. But what I did is I went and I looked up some of the more known rivalry games, and just wanted to go over some of those. And there are a couple here that are really cool. So the first one I have on my board is, and I'll see if you guys know any of these, 100 Miles of Hate. Do y'all know who that would be? And I know we've got to move rather quickly, but 100 Miles of Hate. Any takers on that one?
It's got to be somewhere out in the West. BYU, nah, that's the Holy War. It's got to be out West.
Like Wyoming and Boise?
Yeah.
Not even close, but I like how you were thinking. It's Middle Tennessee State and Western Kentucky. That's called 100 Miles of Hate.
Makes sense.
The second one here is one that is near and dear to me. Jake and I grew up in this era. This is called Black and Blue. That would be Southern Miss and Memphis State, or Memphis, excuse me. Back in the day of Jeff Bauer, that was some serious football. And I was a diehard Southern Miss. I love Jeff Bauer, still do. So that was a game. I wish we could see that game being played again. That would be awesome. Here's another cool one. Battle for the Bones. Battle for the Bones. Any idea on that one, Breck?
No, I'm thinking like like Jurassic Park paleontologist school, but I don't know.
I'll tell you guys this. The trophy,
East Carolina.
Well, close, is a bronzed rack of ribs, if that gives you any type of a hint. So the trophy for this one is a bronzed rack of ribs, and that is between UAB and Memphis. Battle for the Bones. Here's one that's fun. The Seafaring Scuffle between the Merchant Marines of D3, Division III, and Southern New York Maritime. So the Mariners taking on the Privateers of Southern Maritime. They all are fighting with each other. That game is actually coming up the 11th of October, this coming up weekend. So that's going to be a huge game up there in Division III amongst those two, called the Seafaring Shuffle. And also November 15th. I didn't know if you boys knew this. The Merchant Marines are taking on Coast Guard. So there you go. If you didn't know that, the Coast Guard and Merchant Marines, they have their own football academy as well. Going down through this, you have the Red Beans and Rice Bowl. That is, you would think would be more to the south, but that is actually Central Arkansas. And what was that other school? Central Arkansas and McNeese State. Red Beans and Rice Bowl. One called Anchor Bone. Anchor Bone is between Ferris State and Grand Valley State. Ferris State, most of you Ole Miss people know that. That's where your quarterback's from. And then Grand Valley State, two Division II powerhouses. One I thought was really neat called Tommy Johnny. Tommy Johnny.
Baseball.
You need to look
Not
this
Tommy
one
John.
up. Tommy Johnny.
Yeah.
No. Tommy, Tommie / Johnny. Tommy Johnny. So up in Minnesota, St. John's University versus St. Thomas University. They don't play this game anymore on the football field because St. Thomas moved back to an FCS level. But this was pretty serious. I found some articles on it. It was pretty interesting. Now, they do play in basketball and some other lower level type sports, but Tommy Johnny, that is a big one for the folks up in the north. And then the final one that I picked up because I thought it was a cool name was the Moonshine Throwdown. Now you have to tell me, who do you think is the Moonshine Throwdown? Any idea?
Somebody from Tennessee.
I said West Virginia. I'm thinking in the West Virginia, somewhere like that.
Okay.
Gotta be in Appalachia. Gotta be.
Yeah.
I'm going to go South Louisiana, like Southern University versus whoever.
Okay. All right. So the Moonshine Throwdown, and Breck was right on it. Marshall out of Huntington, West Virginia, and Western Kentucky. So, any rate, a lot of cool names out there. Of course, we've got our classics, the Soul Bowl, the Egg Bowl, the Bayou Classic, the Iron Bowl, third Saturday in October, all the ones we know and love. But there are a lot of good rivalries out there at the high school level. So put in the comments some that you may want us to talk about, and we would love to hear from you on that. But just wanted to have that this week, and see we were able to have a nice, friendly conversation with each other. We're not fighting. So
what a scholar.
I'm gonna have to do it again.
What a scholar.
Yes.
Bringing people together here.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can.
Give him a segment, folks. Give him
My
a
favorite
segment.
rivalry name isn't like cordial between anybody. My favorite rivalry name, I got two of them. Bedlam, they don't play anymore. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and Georgia and Georgia Tech. Clean old-fashioned hate.
Yep.
Yeah, those are my two favorite rivalry names. And in my Environment Master studio this week, I'm rolling with all Whippets. Kosciuszko got a big game this week. This is from 1996, the last time Kosciuszko played in a state championship. They gave these out at the stadium, at Veterans Memorial Stadium. So that's it right there. So it's all
you need to knock the dust off that thing, man.
I got another one right up here. So yeah, I got that. But Environment Masters studio, hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC, environmentmasters.com. All right, we'll continue with the discussion this week. Chris Brooks and I kind of touched on it last week, is some surprises through the middle of the season. Now we can go good surprises, we can go bad surprises. They're both ways. Surprises can be both. So we'll start off. We just heard from Brandon, so we'll start off with Jake Wimberly and see what Wimberly's surprise, good or bad, is for this week 6 through week 6 of the season.
Guys, I've got a bad surprise for everybody, and let me tell you what it is. It's offensive football in Rankin County. Now, this is only in the MHSAA. This is not including Hartfield. It's not including Jackson Prep. Of course, you can probably throw some East Rankin days in here, and the results are going to be pretty similar. But offensive football in Rankin County has gone by the wayside this year. Let me give you some stark numbers of offensive football averages in Rankin County. McLaurin, the poor Tigers down there on 49, they're averaging just under 14 points per ball game. Puckett, they're averaging 11 points per ball game. Pisgah, 15 points per ball game. Pearl is averaging 4.3 points per ball game. Brandon, we've talked about that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said 4?
4.
Continue.
4 points per ball game.
This is astounding.
Yeah. Brandon, 13 points per ball game after the other night. And the two highest scoring teams, Northwest Rankin at 18.5, and shout out to the Richland Rangers. They are the scoring champion right now, 28 points per ball game for Richland. That's amazing. I'm glad somebody's scoring a little offense in Rankin County. I don't know what has happened to offense in Rankin County, but we don't want none of it down in this county, I guess, except Richland. The Rangers want it.
What is going on?
So hang on a second. All right. So I have a dear friend that's at McLaurin. So I'm by any means not piling on him, but you mean to tell me that McLaurin is scoring more points per average than the Mighty Bulldogs of Brandon High School?
That is exactly what I'm telling you, by almost 1 point per ball game. Mm-hmm. Now,
I never would have thought that.
You can get to schedules and scheduled it, but still, I mean, look, we're 6 games into this. You got to have your offense. You got to be running offense.
What did we say last segment? Offense is down across the board. It feels like, well, in Rankin County, it certainly is, but that's astounding. Look, I guess we knew some of the teams, right? I mean, we obviously knew Northwest Rankin was a little bit down from what they were scoring. Obviously, Brandon. And we knew Pearl was struggling a little bit on offense, but to literally name Puckett and McLaurin, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's got to find some offense in the second half of the season, all of them.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, are these coaching staffs trying to make their offenses too complicated? Defense, you probably can get the upper hand on the defense because you teach the fundamentals, teach them to tackle, teach them to attack the football, gap assignment. Various things like this fundamental stuff, you can put together a defense probably quicker than what you can put together an offense. So I'm wondering if it's not one of those deals where we're still in the air raid type deal and they may just not have the personnel to do it. And, it takes the offensive line. I tell you, man, what we see at Warren Central, we're not seeing it this year. What we normally see is it normally takes 4 or 5 games for the offensive line to gel, even teams that have, even the offensive line that's played together. So I don't know if that maybe has something to do with it too, but that's astounding to me, the numbers that you just threw out there. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, that is that's a mind blown. Well, Jake gave us a bad surprise. Shots, give us a good surprise. You got a good surprise you can talk to us about?
I want to talk about the baseball schools, man. I mean, and I know that, a lot of these schools feel like when they're labeled baseball schools, it's kind of like labeling a quarterback a game manager. They don't like it. but there's a lot of phrases thrown around like that, baseball schools and game managers. I think it's a compliment, technically. I mean, the fact that you're playing good football right now and you're Clarkdale 6-0, Brandon and I know we picked Bay Springs. Look, I mean, they just ended a huge drought and not beating Bay Springs. Yeah, Breck's pointing to himself too for all those listeners out there. But yeah, I mean, end of the day, Clarkdale 6-0. How about Sumrall, man? Sumrall's having a great year. I mean, that is, you talk about a baseball school. Riggs Russell, he's got a 128 quarterback percentage for this ball club, and they're 5-1. They're playing some really good football, but those are the surprises, I'd have to say, really, as far as the baseball schools. There's always usually one or two that catch your eye, but it's Clarkdale and Sumrall right now.
And Seminary having a good year. They just lost to Sumrall. That was a good game this past week, Sumrall and Seminary. But we'll see about Brandon Davis, if he has anything good or bad, surprise worthy to talk to us about here as we get ready for week 7 of the high school football season.
I do, and I hate to even bring it up, but a bad is Jefferson Davis County. I mean, Lance Mancuso is one of my favorite coaches. I think in terms of the wing tee offense, he may be the best in the state at doing it. Todd McDaniel's up there with him, but coach is awesome. And every year those boys are always in the mix. And Jake, you mentioned it too. I know you had heard from him as well. He loves this team. He thought that maybe this was the team to get them back there early in the season, but Breck, going in, they're 2-4 right now. They actually lost their first region game the other night. They lost, which is really nothing to hang your hat on, hang your head about. They lost 35-36 to McGee, so they're 0-1. Now they got a Seminary coming up this week, and they are just giving up a ton of points per game. Do some arithmetic right here. They've got 6 games there. They're giving up 32 points a game on defense. It's just unheard of what you see out of them. And when you're a wing T type defense, you've got a wing T type offense. You've got to play defense because you cannot afford to try to air the ball out because you really just don't have that, that luxury. So that's how wing T offenses and teams are able to be successful, is playing good defense, keeping the scores low. And we just hadn't seen that this year out of this JDC team. Now there's still opportunity. I think they're going to be a playoff team. They've got McLaurin, they've got Raleigh, but that is a crazy region. So that has been a bad surprise for me, and I hate to have to say it because I'm such a big fan of Coach, but that's just the reality right now of what we're seeing.
Yeah, well, we know if they got McLaurin, they got a chance because the Jake told us McLaurin not scoring too many points there in Rankin County. But on the flip side of that, I'll give you a team, for my surprise, that is doing well, that kind of came out of nowhere for me. That's North Pontotoc. The Vikings, undefeated. They're still undefeated. 5-6 last year. They got shut out against Louisville in the first round of the playoffs. But so far this year, started the year with 3 shutouts, and they just beat New Albany. Preseason, New Albany was the darling up in North Mississippi, right? Got the good quarterback, and they got a 26-22 win over New Albany, only giving up 35 points total all season long. Coach Andy Crowell, in his 9th year, came over from Caledonia. They got Corinth this week. Corinth dropped down from 5A to 4A. Corinth, kind of a powerhouse right there. They're kind of middle of the pack this year, but I like the Vikings as a nice surprise. I heard Coach Crowell on one of the call-in shows. There's so many of them on Friday nights, right, that we all listen to. Heard him on one of them. Don't know which one it was, but I definitely heard him the other night talking. And so the Vikings of North Pontotoc doing big things there in North Mississippi, in Ecru, Mississippi, where the Vikings are. And hey, you never know where life's going to take you, but with C Spire, you'll be connected when you get there. From nationwide 5G wireless to fiber home internet, C C Spire is powering connected living today. C Spire, customer inspired. So that leads us into our player of the week, right? We got to talk about our Farm Families of Mississippi player of the week. Also, big thank you to Christian Alexander from last week. If you didn't see his interview, go check it out on our YouTube and all of our platforms, Spotify, iTunes. He was our player of the week last week with Rosafort, and a great season so far. And as always, we'll look at a few candidates before we get to the main one. But Tremarion Davis, this is someone we didn't get a chance to talk about. Macomb and Poplarville in our first segment. We ran out of time, but Macomb with the win, 36-35 over Poplarville. Tremarion Davis, 21 out of 34 for 270 yards and 5 touchdowns. Earlier, I believe it was Davis that mentioned Cooper Crosby in Gulfport was big against Ocean Springs. 162 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, 42 yards receiving, and it helped the Admirals get the win over the Greyhounds. You looked at someone like Will Crowder, the St. Andrews quarterback, 15 out of 24, 241 yards and 4 touchdowns. And we got to talk about Christian Alexander's teammate, Greg Hargrove from Roosevelt. 5 carries, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 5 carries, 3 of them were for touchdowns. So that's pretty good average there. Harlan Pittman from Calhoun City. His Tigers are the favorites in 1A. 6 for 9 for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nothing like 26 yards per pass. That was a 50-15 win over Hamilton. But our Farm Families of Mississippi Player of the Week is someone that Jared got to see this week. George Wilcox from Leake Academy going 12 for 19 for 323 yards and 5 touchdowns in just 2 quarters against Canton Academy. So George Wilcox is your Farm Families of Mississippi Player of the Week. Farm Families of Mississippi. Mississippi needs farmers. But Jared, Wilcox is he's the real deal. You got to see him in person.
Man, I mean, we had all the hype coming into the year. We heard about it. We saw some clips. You saw him at the quarterback camp. He is the real deal. I mean, to see that with these 2 eyeballs, he is really fun to watch. Got the great size, and he moves really well for a 230-pound big guy. And I think I made the comment on the air when I was helping out with the color analyst role that I appreciate Philip Palmer-Tree letting me come over and call the game with him on my week off for Germantown. But basically, I made the comment, if that kid just breathes, he can throw it 40 yards. If he grunts, he can throw it 70. I mean, he has got a huge arm, man. I mean, it is tremendous, and he's got good touch on the passes that he's got to get down the field and let his wide receivers run under, and he can fire that thing. He can spin 1-2 over the middle in coverage. Congratulations to George Wilcox. It was a real treat for me to get to watch him, but congrats on being the player of the week.
Yeah, and we'll get him a shirt from College Apparel, College Corner Store with locations in Flowood, Oxford, and Ridgeland, and they'll get a shirt, and hopefully we can get George on and maybe have an interview with him this week as well. But that wraps up our second quarter here on the Varsity Voices podcast. We're going to step aside for our halftime break, come back for our second half right after this.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
Delicious, savory barbecue doesn't happen by accident. And great wings don't happen by accident either. Whether you're heating up the smoker or firing up the grill, the award-winning crafted in Mississippi finishing sauces and marinades of the Oxford Falls makes every meal a masterpiece and every bite unforgettable. The Oxford Falls helps make every mouth-watering meal one to remember. Shop now at theoxfordfalls.com and get free shipping on orders over $100.
Every job starts with the right equipment. At Empower Rental Group, we've got what it takes to get you moving fast. Empower Rental Group has it all to get the job, large or small, done right. From pickup to delivery, we're your trusted local rental partner. Rent online at renterg.com. That's renterg.com. Or come by and talk to our friendly team today. Empower Rental Group, built for the job.
And welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. We had our halftime break. We got to stretch our legs, listen to the band play, and we'll jump right into our third quarter, brought to you by ERG. You deserve a better rental experience. Go to renterg.com. And joining us this week for our interview segment is Robbie Falk of On3 Sports and the Starkville Daily News. Robbie, thanks for coming on the Varsity Voices podcast. The fans already know you because you're our guest picker one week, but thanks for coming on to be our interview.
7-0, by the way. On my guest picks, I was completely perfect according to Caleb Hamill. So I just want Brian Haydad to remember that. I need that out in the open. I need everybody to understand I was 7-0 on my picks. I just want everybody to remember that.
Yeah, 7-0. I haven't gone 7-0 yet, so good for Robbie. We need to get you a shirt or something like 7-0, perfect guest picker or something like. I think Brooks Hobson went 7-0, maybe the senator. I think maybe he went 7-0. Brandon Davis has gone 7-0 a little bit, but the guest pickers are really showing up. Some of us stalwarts here, but we're going to talk about football up in the Golden Triangle area. Of course, routinely got championship teams just about every year. Starkville's always in the mix. Louisville, West Point, Tupelo, Noxubee County. You got also East Webster up there, Nanawaya, Noxapater. All those teams are always doing big things at Robbie. But this week you got a couple of big games in the area. One that I'll be at, Kosciuszko and Louisville, and Starkville and Germantown. We'll start off with that big one, the 7A game, Starkville and Germantown. That's a big one for both squads.
Absolutely. And Starkville's had a chance to. They got a bye this past week. They're kind of refocusing. They had a really good past 3 weeks after that West Point game. I thought they really responded well. Meridian is not in a great spot, but having the game they did against Meridian, I thought really got them back centered and refocused for what they got ahead. And they knock off Louisville. They go on the road and beat a Brandon team that has been really good defensively. And they had some big moments in that game. So it's a team that's playing with confidence at the right time. You get into Region 2 play here, and it's going to be extremely tough. Oxford's playing really good football. Madison Central's playing really good football. But how about Germantown? This has been a team they've had the potential for a long time. And if you remember when they first got into this thing, I think they started off maybe 3 or 4A. They were doing really well. When they got into the highest classification, it's been a struggle for them. They haven't been able to put together a season where they're going to the playoffs and they're advancing in the playoffs. They've been kind of stuck there in this division, this really difficult division, and they haven't been able to get over that hump. This team has been a team that looks pretty dangerous. They beat Oak Grove early on in the season. They've gotten off to a really good start. They always seem to have 4 or 5 really, really good players. They've played good sound defense in the past. They just haven't been able to get over that hump. It'll be interesting to see what they look like this year if they're able to knock off Starkville, which they did a couple years ago, to get off to a really good start and to be a team to be reckoned with. This is a big week for them. And it's a big week for Starkville, too, trying to set the tone in Region 2 to make a good run here in John Carr's first year.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Starkville had a bye week. Germantown had a bye week. So both teams, you think, maybe coming in at full strength to this matchup. And as you said, kicking off that region play, which is just a tough region there, Region 2 in 7A. But we'll look at another one right there in your area, maybe a game of the week contender that I'll be on the call for, Kosciuszko and Louisville. These teams are old rivals. It's the 90th time these squads are going to play each other. It's been kind of one-sided towards Louisville lately, but everyone that Louisville plays, it's been one-sided towards Louisville lately. But yeah, this is a big one there in, it's going to be at Louisville. So it's going to be rocking over there at R.E. Hines Field, and Caden Wade and Kosciuszko coming over, try to get the first win over the Wildcats in a long time.
Yeah, Tyrone Shorter, they have his attention. I just talked to Tyrone this morning for my weekly conversation with him, and was really impressed with what he's seen on film with Kosciuszko. And they haven't had the schedule that just blows you away like Louisville's. But it's like what I said when I was talking to Dylan Mitchell a few weeks ago. He said that they might not have beaten super impressive teams at this point, but they've taken care of business and been really impressive doing it. And we saw in that ball game with Choctaw County and Kosciuszko just how impressive they've been on the offensive side of the ball with Caden Wade. And talking to people around the state, they're really impressed with him at that position. They're going to bring a fight to Louisville. Louisville, I think, will be prepared with the schedule that they've played, but I think this Kosciuszko team is more than capable of staying on the field and beating Louisville this week. It'll just be interesting to see how they handle it. If you're Kosciuszko and if you're Coach Orr, who's been coaching football for a long time and coaching high-level football, you got to tell these guys to just focus on yourselves. If Kosciuszko plays their brand of football and they come in and they're not focused on the helmet sticker and they're not focused on, we're playing Louisville, this is going to be a really good game because I do think that Kosciuszko, with the personnel that they have, is fully capable of winning in this game. So it'll be interesting. Tyrone Shorter, he believes this could be a 2-game matchup with Kosciuszko. He thinks there's a very real possibility they see them again in the playoffs. So this is an opportunity for Kosciuszko to kind of set the tone there. I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't win this game, but I certainly think the winner of this game is going to be sitting in a very good position to win the district, and that's where you want to be at this point. So very good measuring stick game for Kosciuszko. Like I said, Louisville's already played Starkville, West Point, Noxubee, teams like that. So they're not going to be overwhelmed with what they see. But Kosciuszko has a chance here to see just how far they've come. I think having Casey Orr there now for several years and having an established coach, Kosciuszko is finally in position, I think, again, to build towards the top of 4A. There's been some great coaches come through there, man. I just feel like they haven't had quite that stability. You can probably speak more than I can on it. They haven't had that stability like Casey has now brought them in the last few years, and I think that makes all the difference. You have a program that's just his now for the last few years, and you're starting to see them kind of rise to the top a little bit.
Yeah, with Coach Orr, you could see it definitely with what he did at Noxapater. And it was year 6 in Noxapater when he had a really, really, really good season. And you can see the player development. Kosciuszko hasn't had as many players the past few years that have gone to play college football, whether it's D1 or JUCO. It's just been a steady stream ever since Coach Orr's been here. So definitely with that player development, he's been able to get that rolling. But as you said, getting all those guys in the same system for for so many years now, able to really get your system put in. But speaking of Noxapater, Robbie, this is another game in the Golden Triangle area this week that you're going to be on the call for, I believe, the good old Cross Creek rivalry, and that's an early game. They put that one on Thursday, so that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, Thursday night, it's an opportunity for everybody in Winston County to come to that game, and it's always slam-packed. Really smart for them to do that because it's a 1A matchup that normally the people at Louisville, Winston Academy, they're not able to get to. It allows all the focus to be on that game on Thursday nights, and it always is a banger. I mean, these two teams absolutely despise each other. It's the Egg Bowl of Mississippi. It's not that far apart. It's called Cross Creek for a reason. And these two teams just despise each other. Caleb Kelly's kind of changed the culture over there at Noxapater since he's come in. They've won 3 consecutive ball games in the series after losing for almost a decade straight, I believe, against Anawoya. Noxapater has now kind of taken over that series. But the Warriors this year are a veteran team. They're well-equipped to win this ball game. They are hungry to win this game against Noxapater. I'm very intrigued to see how it plays out. These are 2 completely different teams and how they play, the type of athletes that they have. Noxapater's going to come out. They're going to pretty much run power the entire night. Their starting quarterback went down with an injury. He's out for the season. They've been running Jacavius Riddle, 30, 40 times a game. And when you got a big line of scrimmage and you got a big guy back there that can do that, that's tough to stop sometimes. So that's going to be a challenge for Anawoya, but they've got some real pieces on the offensive side of the ball to the Warriors. I'm really excited to see how that game plays out because, like I said, Anawoya is super hungry to win this game after losing the last couple of years. They're ready to get back in the win column against the Tigers. This is bragging rights for a year. A lot of these guys grow up together. A lot of these parents, they know each other. Some of them are cousins. They work together. The team in black and red want to win as bad as any game this year. The team in the maroon and white's the same way. So I'm pumped to see that one over at Noxapater on Friday night or Thursday night.
Yeah, and Anawoya just survived the close one, overtime with Leake County, a Leake County team that's only got 1 win. So how about Region 5 1A is tough. So there's going to be some good football teams sitting at home with Ethel. Junior Graham's got Ethel rolling. You got McAdams, who just had its first loss to Ethel. Of course, you got what you got with Noxapater and Anawoya, Leake County. And so, yeah, that's going to be a good division there and see how that all plays out. But as far as other teams up in the Golden Triangle area, we got to talk about West Point. And West Point is a team that we talk about them a lot, but when we like to say there's only so much you can talk about because they just run over everybody, and they got to take on Pontotoc this week. Previously undefeated, but Pontotoc is took a loss recently. But West Point, the wave, just steadily rolling. Robbie.
Yeah, they're playing their brand of football, man, and we've seen it enough over the years to know what that brand of football is. And I've said it about them this year a lot. Like you obviously over the last 10 years, West Point has dominated the North in 5A. But every other year they have a team that just looks like a train rolling down the hill. Even the teams that have won the North like they have, and still, last year's team won a state championship. I didn't think that was one of their better teams, but they went and won a state championship. They've had teams that have 3 or 4 losses go win a state title. This looks like one of those teams that's going to be very, very difficult to beat the rest of the way. And I'm talking, running clocks for West Point in a lot of these games. They're really good on the defensive side of the ball. They're doing their thing on the offensive side, ball control, running it down your throat, but they can hit some big plays in the pass game too. This just looks like one of those really, really good West Point teams that is going to be a chore to beat in 5A again. And I think this would be year 10 in a row that they've gone to the state championship if they're able to accomplish that. So Brett Morgan, I can't say enough about, what he's done, but it's really the community. They all have bought into West Point football, and it starts from a young age. They all pull in the same direction. They are all about the team. There is no individuals out there. Nobody is worried about their stats. Nobody is worried about themselves. It's all about what can I do to help the team. And that goes all the way through the community. That goes through the fan base. That goes through the administration. They made a conscious effort when they lost Coach Chambliss to retirement that they were going to keep things as it is. It was all about the program. It wasn't about going out there and getting the biggest name that they can get. It was about what do we do to keep this train rolling? And Brett Morgan was the guy for that position because he's been running that offense for over a decade. And Casey Welch has been a big part of that team and what he's done on the offensive line and the offense as well. And Charles Heron on the defensive side of the ball has been that same way. These are guys that kept the staff together. They've kept things exactly how it was under Coach Chambliss, and that is why you're seeing that success. They are the pure definition of what a program is all about, and it works, man. If you want to win rings, it's the way to do it. Everybody pulling in the same direction, everybody doing, their 1%, and it leads to championships.
Yeah, as I joked about on one of our opening shows about West Point, Buddy used to coach there, and he said West Point, at the stadiums they'll have the champions in 98, 99, 2000, whatever. When they put the next one up, they always put a comma after it because they know another one is coming, and that's what they do there at West Point.
Yep.
But another team up in that area, people maybe not talking about as much, but they're on a roll, and that is Coach Price's East Webster Wolverines. Took a loss on the opening game to the defending 3A champs Choctaw County, but they've been on a roll ever since.
Yeah, got a chance to see them last week as they started district play against Kemper County. I was really interested to see how they came out in that ball game. Kemper is probably in that division the closest to them from just having the athletes. And East Webster isn't just all about the athletes. They have some guys out there, and they have better athletes than they usually do the last few years. But East Webster is a lot like West Point in that everybody's kind of pulling in the same direction. They play extremely hard. They're extremely well coached, and they overcome, in the past especially, they've overcome a lot of their lack of athleticism with how hard they play. Now they just happen to have some great athletes out there. And Kemper County, that always kind of scares you when you see the type of players that they have on that side of the ball offensively and defensively. And you got an Ole Miss running back commit out there. I was really impressed with their quarterback as well. So this one was probably going to be the most intriguing game in that division, even though you got Velma Jackson, Philly, Eupora coming up. just because I felt like they could bust some big plays against East Webster. I was impressed with how East Webster handled this game. They had a little bit of a miscue early with an interception, and the game was, in the balance a little bit. They pulled away, and they're playing a 2-quarterback system right now with the senior Cooper Stidham and then backup quarterback Cross Avent, who's just a sophomore. A lot of people will know Denver McQuarrie, who played at Houston. That's his younger brother. And you can see a lot of similarities there. An athletic freak that can really sling the ball around the yard. And he can do some things that Cooper Stidham can't do, but Cooper's leadership and the way that he runs the offense, it's been a really good mesh between the two. And it don't always work that way with 2 quarterbacks, but they've made it work. They've been fairly even in their stats. They've only thrown, I think, 3 interceptions between them. So I've been impressed with East Webster. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with in 2A North. And I think a lot of that had to do with the belief system going into 3A and competing the way that they did when they go to a North State Championship last year. You go back down to 2A, you feel like you can beat anybody at that point. So you got the belief system, you got the coaching, you got the athletes. This is going to be a really tough team. This is another good test, though. Philadelphia, they're a lot like Kemper. They got players, and they were on the verge of beating Noxubee last week. So another good test for East Webster this week to try to get by and continue to move forward in district standings.
Yeah, Jared Schatz in our last segment was talking about the surprises of the season. He was giving love to the baseball schools, the Sumrall, the Clarkdale, and you could call East Webster. Like as we said, sometimes schools don't like it when you call them a baseball school, but they did, win a state championship a couple years ago in baseball, and so they are rocking and rolling. But yeah, I know what you said about the running back for Kemper County, Demarius Yates, really, really good running back. Last year, 2024, Kemper County comes to Kosciuszko. First play of 2024, Demarius Yates takes the kickoff 70 yards for a touchdown. So that's the kind of talent that Kemper County has. And they're also dropping down from 3A to a 2A situation there. Yep. But one final thing, Robbie, before we sign on off, how excited are you and the whole area up there that the state championships are coming back to Starkville? First time since, 2016, right? A long time.
Yep. It's been a while, man. I remember the last one they had there, West Point, obviously, they won a state championship that year. That was Cam Akers' senior year when he won a state championship, was the last time they were in Starkville. So it's nice to have, and you got teams around here that are capable of getting there, which is what's really exciting. East Webster, I think, can get back. I think West Point can get back. Obviously, Starkville has shown the ability they can contend in the North as well. So there's a lot of teams around here that they feel like they can get to a state championship, and it's adding a little more intrigue and a little more fight to them that they have the opportunity to go play close to home. So everybody's excited about it here. It's always cool to host it here in Starkville. I enjoy it just about wherever it is. I'm going to be there regardless, but it being 30 minutes down the road from where I am right now, that makes it a lot more exciting.
Yeah, going to be a fun time there that first weekend of December. Well, Robbie Falk from On3 Sports and the Starkville Daily News, we appreciate you for joining us here on the Varsity Voices podcast, and you can go brag to Brian Haydad all you want about being 7-0, and we might have to do something.
Oh, I will.
We might have to do something for all of our guest pickers that went perfect. I said I've yet to have a perfect week. So in fact, Wimberly and I think are tied for last place. So we got some making up to do. But Robbie, we
let's get Jake can pay for dinner.
Okay,
let's do that. He's the big money man. Just let Jake pay for dinner. I'll take a steak from his restaurant of choice. It needs to be a nice steakhouse, but I know he's capable of paying a big bill like that. So that sounds good to me.
That sounds like a plan. I'll run that up the chain of command to Wimberly and well, actually Schatz, the man in charge. So we'll see what we can do. But Robbie, we appreciate you for joining us here on the Varsity Voices podcast.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
When your AC goes out, your sink leaks, or your breakers are tripping, you need help fast from someone you can trust. That's why we work hard to have the fastest service times and the most knowledgeable technicians in Central Mississippi. Our promise to you, at your door in under 24. So don't wait days for others to show up. Call Environment Masters for hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC. At your door in under 24, because it's not cool to make you wait.
Never settle when building or remodeling your home. You may think you can't afford brick, but you can. For less than $1 a day, you can own a full brick home. The money you save on painting, heating, and cooling costs, along with lower insurance, will put money back in your pocket. Go to CherokeeBrick.com to see how affordable brick really is. Spend less, save more on the look you want. Cherokee Brick. Life's just better with brick.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.
And welcome back in to the fourth quarter of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. This segment is built by Cherokee Brick, America's most trusted brick supplier. And this segment is where we take a look at this week in some games that we're excited about. Of course, all of us, or Jake, he's got the week off. The rest of us have games that we're going to be at. So we might talk about those for a little bit. But first up, we got to talk about what Jared Schatz is going to be at this week. Germantown and Starkville. Jared, Germantown, both of these teams had a bye week. Both of them had time to get rested and recovered. And this is a big one for both the Mavericks and the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, huge ball game. District 2, 7A, the district opener for these two. They were both off last week, and I think they're kind of mirror images of each other. Lots of big offensive numbers that they can score on anybody. We've seen that with Starkville. We've seen it with Germantown. They kind of mirror each other defensively. They'll have a good game, and then you're kind of scratching your head on what happened defensively. Kingston Johnson, the quarterback, obviously for Starkville, tremendous athlete, big arm. And then you've got, you obviously have King White, who's had a really good senior campaign. So I think this is going to be a great ball game, especially with both coaches coming off the bye week. Russell Mitchell for Germantown and Coach Carr in Starkville. That ball game, being in Gluckstadt at Germantown, I really think that could help Germantown. They have done a really good job. I know the tailgating scene has kind of made its way. They've done a really good job of putting, obviously, people in the tailgate section, but also putting rear ends and seats. And they have really done a good job of filling up the stadium and not, obviously putting people down there just, hanging out, enjoying themselves, but they're actually into the ball game. So it's really a good environment. So I think that could be a big advantage for Germantown in this game. It is so big. I mean, Jake talked about, losing to Northwest Rankin or beating Northwest Rankin 3-0 with no offense, but still 1-0. And you'll take 1-0. It doesn't matter how you get it. Starkville, Germantown, this is really going to be big for whoever gets that first win in district play.
Yeah, that is a huge game. And another one, we'll jump back down into 4A that Brandon Davis wants to take a look at, and that is Morton and Mendenhall. Pretty big game there in that district.
It is, and these are two teams. They're both 3-3 on the season. Morton is actually 1-13 against Mendenhall. And I tell you, Zach Jones is a great ball coach. He won a state title down at Lumberton, and then he's the head coach over at Morton, been there a couple of years. And this is a Morton team that's averaging 26 points a game. On offense, defense, they've been giving up 23, but they've played a very tough schedule. Quarterback, a sophomore, Jalen Stowers, a dual threat quarterback, if there ever was one, 1,700 total yards right now, 14 touchdowns on the ground. And Dolph McDonald, he's going to play Iron Man, wide receiver and defensive back, 471 yards on the season as wide receiver with 4 touchdowns. He's really the go-to target for Stowers. And Coach Zach Jones told me that this kid's going to be a star to watch out for him. On Mendenhall's side, they've struggled a little bit with quarterback play. Couple of sophomores, they've been trying to get it going, but they've only thrown 6 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, so they've struggled throwing the football. But they do have a pair of junior running backs, Jeremy Butts and Jatavius Page, 8 touchdowns combined between both of those. And then they have all-state candidate tight end Henry Funches that we've talked about, 372 yards with 4 touchdowns. Huge game going on. I like Zach Jones, the mentality that he brings, and maybe this is the year that they improve that record against Mendenhall.
And a couple of other games to mention, Choctaw County and Aberdeen, a couple of big ones there in 3A. Of course, I saw the Choctaw County Chargers a few weeks ago. They are the real deal, so that'll be a big game. Also, a big one in some of the smaller ranks, Lloyd, Star, and Wesson. You got a couple of undefeated squads there with the Hornets versus the Cobras. That's a great mascot matchup this week. And also you got some big ones down in the South, like Sumrall. Jared was just talking about the baseball schools. A couple of baseball schools right here, Sumrall and South Jones, going to be playing this week. But we'll jump back over to Jake Wimberly and see what's happening in the metro area in the MAIS. You got the big one, Prep versus JA. Old Classic.
Old Classic is right. Breck Riley, when you talk about these two teams, they have met, numerous times on the field. Jackson Prep holds this edge, believe it or not, 45-15. 45-15 the last time out. Prep won this game last year, 37-0. And, this time, this one's between the bricks at the Brickyard. Our good friend Brian Eubank will, of course, be on the Jackson Prep side or Jackson Academy side with the Raider Network. Russ Robinson on the other side. Look, Jackson Academy, we know about all the talent that they've had, the influx of talent, the new talent that they, have on this team, and they have had a heck of a year so far. Got back on the right side of things, 52-0 against Mag Heights last week. I think they get the win. I think this team probably wins out Jackson Prep, St. Joe, Bayou Academy, and Pillow Academy. And then, their eyes will be towards the playoffs. And look, can they get that rematch with with MRA in the championship game? But I think they take care of business this week. And of course, Jackson Prep is a team, we talked about them. They're very young. They got off to a very slow start. They did not have a solid or a single starter returning on defense. All 11 new. And, of course, getting off the snide. Finally, after week 3, they won a couple ball games. They lost to Madison Regional Academy, beat Hartfield. They beat Cathedral. They're finding their stride, but I think Jackson Academy, there's just too many big mollies, too many big kids, big talent on this team. In this ball game on Friday.
Yeah, so that was a big one down there in the metro area, and now we'll jump back over to the Mississippi Delta region with the big one in 5A. And most people think, including myself and some of the crew on the podcast, if there's a team in 5A North that can challenge, if there's one that can challenge West Point, it's one of these two squads, and they're squaring off this week, Jared. Cleveland Central and Holmes Central. Yeah,
Holmes Central hosting Cleveland Central. We've been really high on both of these teams. We talked about them in our preview show to start the year. Holmes County, we talked about JA having probably the most blue chips. If there's really a school that could challenge them for the most blue chips on a roster, it's probably Holmes County. I mean, they are loaded with talent. They're 5-1. They're living up to the expectations. Cleveland Central 2-2. Holmes County averaging 43 points a ball game. Cleveland Central at 28 points a contest. They're both giving up 20 points a ball game, but I really like Devarius Johnson, the quarterback for Holmes County, over 1,000 yards passing. Listen to these numbers: 15 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So he protects the football, very efficient, big play capability. He's got Rashad Campbell, his running back, averaging 8 yards a tote. So really an efficient offense, very explosive, with a lot of playmakers. And Christopher Watkins, a very good quarterback over at Cleveland Central, 4 touchdowns. He's also run for 157 yards, so he's a dual threat as well. But that should be a fantastic ball game. But with Holmes County hosting, that's going to be awfully tough for Cleveland Central to get the win. We'll see how that one turns out.
And you mentioned the one loss Holmes County has. That's to Louisville, and that was an absolute war between those two.
Close game.
High scoring affair, and the Wildcats eventually won out. But that one was the folks in Winston County holding their breath a little bit when they played against the Jaguars from Holmes County Central. But we'll continue and see what Brandon Davis is going to be doing this week, as he's going to be on the call for Warren Central taking on the Ridgeland Titans.
Yeah, it's going to be the biggest game of the season for us. And this really is the reason why Josh Morgan scheduled the non-region schedule like he did, with 4 7A teams and then, playing crosstown rival Vicksburg. But, this is the original team that's coming in undefeated. Todd McDaniel is third season, and normally these wing T type coaches, this is where you see them have their success. And Jared and I have been very high on McDaniel, and rightfully so. He's got a great team. DK Wallace is an all-star. He's going to be in the Bernard Blackwell. Congratulations to him. Also, Nigel Lockett on defense, Bernard Blackwell as well. So congratulations to that young man on the defensive side. But some stats to look at. Josh Morgan is 8-0 against wing T offenses because it's something about him. He loves playing against these offenses because of the type of defense that he plays. This fundamentally sound defense, gap control, containment, watch the guards, because that's really what the wing T is. If you can watch the guard and if you can watch a wing back, you can stop a wing T offense. And he's been done very well at doing that. He is 5-0 against Todd McDaniel from the days of at Vicksburg and from the days at Ridgeland. So I know Coach McDaniel wants to get off the snide there, but this is a very important game because being a region opener, these, in my opinion, are the two best teams in that region. I know that Canton and Callaway, Neshoba Central and Greenville will have something to say about that, but I really feel like the winner of this game is going to win the region. So, the one thing that I'm anxious to see is Ridgeland played a lesser schedule, not taking anything away from who they played, but they've played a lesser schedule. They are averaging 39 points a game on offense. They do have a very dynamic running attack with both DK Wallace and Ashton Gordon on offense, but I'm anxious to see if they played a tough enough schedule of what they're going to see when they go up against Warren Central. Both teams are coming off a bye week, so it's going to be interesting to see. And Nash Morgan for Warren Central, he's been phenomenal this year. 125 yards averaging on the ground at quarterback. And then, this is a Warren Central offense that is averaging over 200 plus yards on the ground. So this is going to be a huge game, and I am extremely excited to see how it plays out. I've been looking forward to this one ever since the season started. So it'll be a lot of fun this week over at Vicksburg.
Also, Brandon, the fact that you give Josh Morgan 2 weeks now to prepare for that offense, that's an eternity.
Yeah, it is. And, the thing that I would say, though, is that our defensive line is young. Looking back from last year, we had double-digit sack numbers last year, but through 5 games, we've only had 3 sacks so far. But the thing about, like I said, it's not about being aggressive when you're a defense being aggressive when you play a wing T offense. Actually, if you're aggressive on defense, that hurts you. It's more about the gap control, lanes and things of that nature. But you're right, Jared. He's had the time, and they realize the importance of getting this win if you want to have, 2 home games in the playoffs.
And a couple of games that we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about more in our Pick'em segment. You have Ocean Springs and D'Iberville. That's going to be a barn burner. Petal and Oak Grove, right there in the Hattiesburg area. Senatobia and Clarksdale. That is a big one up in 4A North Mississippi. You also have the big one down in Raleigh, Forest in Raleigh. We're going to talk about that one in our Pick'em. And right now, I want to go to a couple of games that I think we could see the first possibly of 2 meetings between these teams right now, and that is Kosciuszko and Louisville play this week. That is one that we're going to talk about in our Pick'em, but we'll break it down a little bit. Whippet's undefeated, scoring like 45 points a game, and they got Caden Wade, the high-powered offense. They got weapons everywhere. They got Brandon's favorite player, the fullback, Jackson Schuler, can pound it in there, get out there in the slot. And you got the defense is playing great. Ricari Covington, Keith Lay, they've been doing well. And then, of course, you got Louisville. And you got Zayden Jernigan, and then one of their guys, a couple of their guys this week, the name's escaping me, but got an offer from, I think, Memphis and Tulane this week for Louisville. So they got some the athletes that Louisville has. So that's a big one we'll talk more about in our Pick'em. But on the other side, in South 4A, Brandon, is another one. Macomb and Columbia play. So out of these 2 teams, you might be seeing some state championships represented between North and South in 4A, possibly.
Hey, this is going to be a barn burner of a ball game. Flip a coin, okay? So we didn't talk much about the game earlier. We ran out of time with Poplarville and Macomb, but that was like basically a last-minute drive that Macomb was able to go down and score. Poplarville had a chance to kick a field goal at the very end. Long field goal was blocked. But Tremarion Davis, and you talked about him a little bit Uncle Breck, you talked about him, sophomore quarterback, 888 yards on the season, 15 touchdowns to 1 interception. This kid is going to be special. And he's also throwing to Bam Peters, 6'4", 235 tight end, 235-pound tight end. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season. But Columbia's been awesome. Clyde Peters is a dynamic player down there for them on offense. They're averaging 38 points a game and giving up 11 on defense. But, okay, the thing about Macomb, this is how close these two are. Macomb themselves are averaging 38 points on offense, and on defense, they're only giving up 13 points. So something's got to give down in Columbia this Friday night. And, it's too bad that I have a exciting game of my own. Otherwise, I might be heading down to South Mississippi to catch this one. But this is going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say there's no such thing as a sure thing when you put your money on it, but I think you could almost bet that out of Kosciuszko, Louisville, Macomb, Columbia, one of those 4 probably going to be in Starkville for representing 4A, either North or South. It could even be 2 of these 4 teams that are playing. It could be.
Honestly, I mean, there's a
4A.
Yeah, a lot to be said and a lot to be done, but I think that to me in 4A, and there's some dang good teams in 4A North this year as well, but I could see that the winners of both of those games being who we see in Starkville. It's going to be pretty exciting.
4A always delivers one of the best championships, no matter who's in it.
Yes.
Yeah, any game that Jake Wimberly has to leave early and go do the sideline, that is usually the 4A game, right?
Death taxes here, and Wimberly going to do the TV set, and then
guess what?
Tremendous ending to a ball game. Yeah.
Hey, but guess what? I usually benefit from that because I jump in to do color or whatever I do. Yes, and it's like the best game, and there goes Wim. He's down there doing his TV stuff, and we're up there having fun on radio. But yeah, it's
every year.
It's just really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but the for those that don't know, the story behind that is when we do the state championships radio broadcast, sometimes Jake has to do in between games. Has to go do the TV set on the sideline. So about 4 or 5 minutes left in the ball game. After a commercial break, he'll get ready to go get down on the sideline, and one of us, Jared, Schatz, Brandon, somebody will just jump in and take over for Jake's spot. But it never fails. Whatever happens, it could be 50 to nothing.
Pit crew.
It could be 50 to nothing. And somehow the other team's going to score 49 points in 2 minutes, and it's going to be a barn burner of a game because Wimberly got up. By the time Wimberly gets down to the field, it's already tied.
Yeah,
just about.
That's true story.
Yeah, so we'll watch it this year.
Wimberly can be walking, under the stadium or wherever he's got to go on the concourse, and he already knows. He can hear the crowd, and he's like, "Oh, there goes another one. There it goes."
Yeah, the crowd tells you everything. Just listen to the crowd.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens this year. Could be a 4A team. Who knows? But that is going to wrap up the 4th quarter for us here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. But, every game here has overtime. So we'll take a break. We come back. We're making our picks for the week here on the Varsity Voices podcast.
At Fowler GMC, our customers have been our priority for over 70 years. That same dedication happens today as we offer a wide range of options to cater to every taste and budget. Whether you're looking for a luxurious and versatile SUV or a powerful truck, we have it all. Our knowledgeable team is here to assist you every step of the way, and we are committed to providing fast and courteous service. Visit us today and experience the difference for yourself. Trust, service, and selection. Fowler GMC.
3rd and 6 from the 40-yard line.
Sure, you ready for this?
He takes a snap, drops back.
What's the right situation for a flea flicker?
They should have been in nickel defense.
There's a nickel and a dime.
Now for a proper bull rush start of 3-point stance.
What a disastrous play call.
Ready or not, here we go.
Hey, Dad.
You can call me Coach.
It's amazing what C Spire's nationwide 5G network can connect. C Spire, inspired by you.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
Welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. It's overtime. So like we like to say, it's free football or free podcast, whatever you want to say. This segment brought to you by Fowler GMC and the drive to the championships. Fowler GMC in Pearl built a reputation on trust serving Mississippi since 1953. And when you take that drive to the championships, drive on into the Hilton Garden Inn of Starkville and book yourself a room and hang out with the crew all weekend long there that first weekend of December. It's going to be a fun one. We're happy that the championships are back in Starkville for the first time since 2016. Is that right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right.
Lights went out.
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah. Been a long time since they've been back up
10
there
years
in the
ago.
Golden Triangle area. And so, yeah, that'll be a fun one. But as we always do in overtime, we will make our picks, and our pick 'em is presented by Pine Straw of America. Keep your yard looking perfect all year long with Pine Straw of America, experts in premium longleaf pine straw. You can join the exclusive subscription program and enjoy fresh, flawless straw on schedule every season. Pine Straw of America. It's always fresh year round, and you can check out 4.9 out of 5 reviews on Google. And guys, we got 5 out of 5 when it comes to ball games to pick from this week. I mean, we're picking 7, but like 5 stars out of 5 stars, because some of these games are tough. I imagine some of you, about like me right now, kind of, what am I going to do? What am I going to pick? But taking a look at the overall standings, Jared Schatz is in the lead with 33-9. Then Brandon Davis at 32-10. Caleb Hamill 27-15. And then Jake Wimberly and I bringing up the caboose, 25-17 apiece. Big thank you to Philip Gunn, former Mississippi Speaker of the House. He was our guest picker this week. He went 3 for 4. But as he said, he was more excited about being the quarterback for the 1980 Clinton Aero Championship team than he was about being the former Mississippi Speaker of the House. But we appreciate Philip Gunn for doing that. We'll have another guest picker for you this week. But let's get right into the picks. And since Jared's in the lead, he gets to go first. And right off the bat, a tough one up in North Mississippi. Senatobia 6-0 taking on Clarksdale 5-1.
Boy, I get to go first. And the last week was rough. This week, I feel, is even worse as far as who's going to win these ball games. I'm going to have to go with Senatobia. I know Clarksdale's had a really good year. I think Senatobia is the better team. I feel like they're the more complete team. They're 6-0, 2-0 away from home. So we'll see if they can make it 3-0. But it's a really good team. I just think they're more consistent right now. I know Clarksdale is we've talked about them being one of the greatest programs of all time, but this year they're good. I just don't know if they're Senatobia good. So let's go with the Warriors.
So Shots is taking Senatobia. Brandon Davis, what about you?
Yeah, I know the Warriors are on the road, but when you have a running back like D. Watson, who's our player of the week, had a chance to see him. I'm going to take Senatobia on the road over Clarksdale. When you can run the ball and play defense, you got a chance on the road, and the Warriors can do both.
All right, that's 2 for Senatobia. Caleb Hamill, our producer, what do you think? Senatobia, Clarksdale?
Last week I tried to pick with my heart and tried to overanalyze stuff. So this week I'm going strictly by the numbers of what my RPI calculation says. And so in full contribution to technology, I'm just going to let technology pick it. So I'm going to go with
Senatobia.
There it is. Right? Hey, first, there's 2 rules when it comes to picking and things like that. First rule, no such thing as a sure thing. Second rule is leave a motion at the door. Caleb Hamill's doing that this week, going with Senatobia. But Jake Wimberly, how about you? You going with the Warriors or Clarksdale?
I'm going to go with Senatobia. Kind of what Brandon was talking about when you talking about Watson, the running back there, 14 touchdowns. They've also got, really good play out of Irby, the quarterback on their team. They've just been more consistent. So give me Senatobia. Give me the Warriors to get this one.
I also like Senatobia. I've been big on Clarksdale, and I still think Clarksdale's got a chance to, do some things, but I think Senatobia a little bit more battle-tested than Clarksdale when it comes to the schedule and things like that. And let's not forget Senatobia. Big win over Calhoun City. And you're saying that's a 1A school. A 1A school that could beat probably a lot of teams in 5A and 6A. So, yeah, that was a big win for Senatobia. So it looks like it's a clean sweep across the board with us taking Senatobia. Next up, we'll go to the other end of the state. The Ocean Springs Greyhounds they're 5-1, taking on the Iberville. The Warriors are undefeated. Ocean Springs just took one on the chin to Gulfport, Jared. So what are you going with, Greyhounds or Warriors?
Ooh, I'm going to go with the Iberville. I just think, and they're not catching Ocean Springs at a good time right now, obviously coming off that loss to Gulfport, but D'Iberville's playing some really good ball right now offensively, and then Brandon and I have talked about their defense. So let's go with the Warriors.
Okay, so Warriors there. And I know Brandon Davis is big on D'Iberville, but is he going to take him over the Greyhounds?
I love D'Iberville's defense. I mean, it's a defense that's only given up, 11 points, 12 points a ball game. But to me, this is one of this kind of a flip 'em for me. I think when I look at strength of schedule, I give Ocean Springs the nod, and I know Jake Bramlett's going to have this bunch ready. They've got a great rushing attack. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm flipping a coin right now. I'm taking Ocean Springs. I am. I'm taking Ocean Springs to come off the snide. I think the Gulfport loss last week opened their eyes. So sorry, D'Iberville, I love you, but I'm going to take Ocean Springs this week.
Okay, Davis going with the Greyhounds. Caleb Hamill, what are you and the RPI saying?
Surprisingly, I did not expect this big of a gap between two schools, but the winner for this one, according to RPI, is
D'Iberville.
Had to phonetically spell that one out.
Okay.
But yeah, D'Iberville is at number 4. Ocean Springs is all the way down at 23.
So, robots have no feelings, right, Caleb?
Caleb Hamill.
No feelings.
Caleb Hamill is
no
taking
emotion.
D'Iberville for Caleb Hamill. What about you, Wimberly?
I'm going to have to go with the Greyhounds. I know what the RPI says, but when I look at this game, I think Ocean Springs read a little too much into their press clippings last week. They were getting a lot of pub around the state. They got hit in the mouth by Gulfport, never really recovered. They won this game handily last year, 27-13. And give me the Greyhounds to roll here.
Right, so we got 2 for D'Iberville, 2 for Ocean Springs. I'm going to give the nod to the Warriors of D'Iberville. I'm still very high on them. I like what they're doing, so give me D'Iberville. Now we got a rivalry game, a little fun one here down in Caleb Hamill's neck of the woods. Petal and Oak Grove. Both of these teams coming in at 4-2. Oak Grove a little off to a rocky start, but able to win 4 straight. So Jared Schatz, I think maybe you or somebody, including myself, had Petal as sort of a sleeper this year. So what are we thinking?
Yeah, you've got the defense of Petal, you've got the offense of Oak Grove, and let me tell you, we talked about teams that maybe they're a little bit disappointing earlier in the broadcast. We talked about the baseball schools and then some pleasant surprises. I would say the biggest turnaround since week 2 would be Oak Grove. They heard the noise. They heard it throughout the media. They were not playing good football. They lost a heartbreaker to Starkville. Germantown really whipped them good in Gluckstadt, and they have been rolling ever since. They destroyed Hattiesburg, Neville, Louisiana, who's a power, whipped Laurel. They beat a Houston, Tennessee team. They are playing some really good football. And then there's Petal. They're playing tremendous ball. They have a better defense than Oak Grove. And where's this ball game? It's at Petal, is that correct?
Grove.
Oak Grove.
We're going Oak Grove. I got to go Oak Grove. They're playing good ball, and it's at home. Give me Oak Grove.
Okay, so Schatz thinks Oak Grove. What about you, Davis?
I mean, Schatz is right with Oak Grove, but Petal's just as hot. I mean, they've beaten, since the loss to Columbia, they've beaten Gulfport, Clinton, and West Jones. And I mean, they beat the brakes off West Jones. So 2 hot teams going in, but I tell you what, I really like Drew Causey as a coach. I think that he gets a lot out of his kids. He's got a good quarterback. He's always got a good defense down there. This game is at Oak Grove, and if you've ever been there, I think most of us have. It's dang tough to play there. They come out. So I think Oak Grove has figured it out. So give me the Warriors of Oak Grove in this ball game.
Okay, so Caleb Hamill, what does the robot say?
Petal.
I was a little surprised by that one.
Me too.
So Petal at 33, nice. Oak Grove is all the way down to 58. Now, granted, the numbers, there's not a lot of separation. If you look at Petal's RPI, it's 0.624, Oak Grove at 0.577. Some of that's a little skewed, and honestly, this may be the calculation's fault for not factoring in those Louisiana teams appropriately. But we'll see. I'm going with Petal in the meantime for what I've got.
Okay, so Hamill's taking the Panthers. Wimberly, what about you?
No doubt that Petal, and I'll get a chance to see both of these teams coming up here in the next few weeks. As a matter of fact, back-to-back weeks after this week, I'll get a chance to see Petal and then Oak Grove, in succession here. Petal definitely much improved, but I like Oak Grove. I like Kellen Hall. He's thrown 17 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's protecting the football. They're scoring the ball. And, in a game of this magnitude, I'm going to go with the Oak Grove offense over the Petal defense.
Okay, and I am also going to take Oak Grove. So I went with the sweep with the Warriors there, Senatobia, D'Iberville, Oak Grove. Had to keep it nice and even there with the Warriors on our first few picks, so I'm taking Oak Grove. No Warriors in this matchup, though, but I do expect it to be an absolute war, and that's one we talked about earlier, Macomb and Columbia, a battle of 6-0 squads. Some people think probably the South 4A representative playing in this ball game. Jared Schatz, who you going with?
Macomb, to me, is one of the biggest surprises in the Magnolia State. They're playing tremendous football. I thought they would lose last week to Poplarville, and they proved me wrong. And so all that to say, I'm about to pick against them again. So they're probably enjoying me picking against them. I just think Columbia is one of the best teams in the state of Mississippi, especially 4A. Coach Bilderback, coming back, I think that has been huge for them, and they're just picking up where he left off, and just give me Columbia.
I was impressed with the Poplarville win for Macomb last week. Poplarville had to go a long way to play that bunch, but Columbia, let's look at the teams they beat. They beat Hartfield. I know Hartfield's struggling, but Hartfield's loaded with talent. West Marion, they beat Petal, JDC, and then last week to open up region play, they blanked Lawrence County 48-0. Bilderback, as Schatz said, is a great coach, but I think him coming back is just how he's fell into that seat is remarkable. So it being at home, give me Columbia to give Macomb their first loss of the year, but I really do like Macomb. Like Schatz says, they're a great story.
All right. I don't know if y'all are ready for this one, but I'll give you one RPI and I'll give you the other one. 693 and 692. They are literally next to each other in the rankings. One's at number 9, the other at number 10. That said, the one that is taking my pick is, wait for it, pause for effect. Oh my goodness, I think it's broken. Even the phone doesn't want to pick it, but Columbia.
Okay, so there we go. So far, everybody's going Columbia. How about you, Jake Wimberly?
These two teams have played right around 36 or 37 times, and Macomb has blanketed Columbia 29-6-1. Now, they haven't played since 2016, but when you look at the way Macomb has played, and again, the Poplarville win last week, and the fact that Davis, their quarterback, he's just a sophomore, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. They're also running the football collectively really good as a team, around 901 yards per team. Give me Macomb here. I like the Tigers in this spot.
All right. I'm also taking Macomb. I thought I was going to be the only one. Last week, I was the only one who took Macomb. I got it right. Thought I was going to be like that again. So I'm rolling with the Tigers, man. But Wimberly had to, he had to jump on that Tiger train. So we're going with Macomb. Next up, we're going to go to a little smaller schools, a little bit of the small schools. Another baseball school that we talked about earlier, Clarkdale, taking on Union. Both of those squads are undefeated. A battle of Bulldogs and Yellow Jackets. Shots, what do you like in this one?
Ooh, I studied this one and went back and forth. I keep picking against Clarkdale, and they're enjoying that as well, but somebody's about to get the jinx here. I think I'm going to go with Clarkdale. I just think that they're playing pretty consistent football. They're believing in what they're doing right now. And Brandon's been very high on them. And look, man, Union, I think their schedule, this is a coin. All these are coin flips. Just give me Clarkdale before I second guess myself and mess this up. Let's go with Clarkdale.
That's just Clarkdale. What about you, Davis?
These smaller schools are going to have these kids that are just all world, baseball, basketball. We see it in Biggersville, with the kids they have. Clarkdale has one that if you don't, Trey Gunn, thank you.
Biggersville, yeah.
Yeah, Clarkdale has one. If you don't know his name, learn it. He's a junior. His name is Jake Lee. He is, like you said, he's their ace on their baseball team. He is just a dog. And when you have a kid like that leading the charge, and you've got a defense that is only giving up 8 points a ball game, I like what Rob Roberts is doing over there. So give me Clarkdale to go in and beat Union.
This is one of the hardest ones for me because I really love Jordan Wren, what he's done at Union, got some ties to him and family, friends. That said, these two have just 3 spots of separation RPI, and the top team in that is Clarkdale.
All right. So far,
I want the sound effects, Caleb.
You want the sound effects?
Yes.
Let me hit refresh. Let me see if I can get that to work.
Yeah, we don't like.
Hey.
There you go. Yes.
There we go. She sounded a little better on Clarkdale than she did for D.I. Burtville. But Clarkdale works good. What
I can't wait for Kosciuszko or Louisville.
Wow, that's going to be a wild one. What about you, Wimberley? Clarkdale or Union?
You know, Union and Clarkdale have played 31 times in the history of their program. Union holds a 29-2 edge in this series, 29-2. So there's going to be something here to be said about psyche, I think, in this matchup. Give me Union. Give me the Yellow Jackets to sting them up this weekend.
He's taking the Yellow Jackets. Our pal White Denzel will be appreciative of you taking the Union Yellow Jackets there. And I know old Denzel from way back in. That's not what I call him. I call him, we can't say on the podcast. But anyway, he might call me something bad because I'm going with Clarkdale. I like Clarkdale in this ballgame. I took them last week against Bay Springs, and they won, so I'm sticking with Clarkdale. All right, we got 2 more to go with. This is another good one. A team maybe nobody's talking about is Forest. The Bearcats. They're 5-1, and they're taking on a Raleigh team who we've talked about a lot. We've talked a lot about Raleigh. They're a great squad. They're also 5-1. And so this is a good one. Forest gave Poplarville fits last year in South State in 4A. So, Jerry, are you looking at Bearcats or Lions? A feline matchup here.
Yeah, Forest 5-1. Look, they're a traditional power. We've been big on Raleigh, like you said, and Forest a big win over Mendenhall, who I think is a team up and coming. But that Raleigh defense, man, I mean, they are just picking up where they left off last year. So Forest giving up 13 points a ball game. Raleigh says, watch this, 8 points a ball game. They're surrendering. I'm on the Lions, man. I've been on them all year long. I think they're going to ride this train all the way to Starkville, so give me the Lions.
Okay, he likes the Lions. Davis, what about you?
Yeah, same. Ryan Higdon, great young coach. He coaches those kids up, does a great job with them. As Shot said, they're giving up about 8 points a game. They're offensively, they're burning it up, about 39 points a ball game, and they blanked their last 2 opponents. Morton, they beat Morton 36-0, and last week open division play, beating McLaurin 56-0. So this game being at Raleigh can give me Raleigh in this game.
This one is 31 versus 35. We continue to have really good close matchups as far as RPI is concerned. That said, this one should belong to
Forest.
Ooh, the Bearcats.
I didn't see that coming.
Sort of a bigger, Forest is 4A, Raleigh's 3A. So, there's some, but like.
Well, Raleigh's only loss, guys, just real quick, not to interrupt, was to 7-8 D'Iberville. Yeah, 14-6.
And they played D'Iberville better than anybody else has.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, what about you, Jake Wimberley? Forest or the Lions of Raleigh?
Raleigh and Forest, again, 2 teams that played, a lot of football against each other. Raleigh only 7 wins in the series, 26 for Forest. But this defense of Raleigh and what you just said, I mean, they played D'Iberville as close as anybody. Give me the Lions of Raleigh in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm also taking Raleigh in this one. Jared Shantz and I were both really big on them in our preseason show, and I still like the Raleigh Lions to get the win. And now we come to the fun one. I mean, all of them been fun, but this one's really fun. How about the 90th meeting, 90th, between Kosciuszko and Louisville? The Whippets versus the Wildcats. Whippets are 6-0. Wildcats are 4-2, with the 2 losses being to West Point and Starkville. And Louisville played West Point closer than anybody. So this is a great game, and trust me, it's been a lot of talking points and a lot of talk about it here. It is a fever pitch, and it's not even, as we're recording this, it's not even started the week yet. So I expect this to be a big game. But Jared Schatz, start with you. Kosciuszko in Louisville.
Don't know. I mean, can I say that? I really don't know. Caden Wade has not turned the football over, correct? 11 touchdowns, no picks. All right,
dating back to last year. Dating back to last year, no interceptions last year.
All right, so I know this is. Yeah, I know I'm taking way too long. Question, and this is not asking inside information. We just don't have access to how good is the Whippet defense against the run.
Pretty good.
He's holding those cards close to that chest.
Good, man. Pretty good.
Look at this guy, man. The caboose, bringing it up the rear, man. He's like, I'm not telling you anything.
He said he's got insider information on this. I'm anxious.
So I got a whole thing right here. You guys ain't even ready for this.
Honestly, if I knew the run defense, I would probably jump on the whip it bandwagon. But you know what? Riley? Since you want to hold all this up, go Wildcats. Let's go. Let's bring it on.
Okay. Shots is taking Louisville, taking the Wildcats. How about you, Davis?
I was trying not to, man. I was trying not to.
You picking against your boy, Davis? You gonna do that?
See, that's the hard part. This is like trying to pick your favorite child, and and I love Kosciuszko. I love what they're doing. Casey Orr is phenomenal football coach, how he's built this team. However, what I like about Louisville is I like their strength of schedule, and I like Tyrone Shorter, and I like that it is at Louisville. I think these two are going to meet up again, and if I'm Kosciuszko, I would rather lose this one than I would the next one. So I'm going to say that Louisville is going to take it because I feel like they are focused after that Noxubee County game. So sorry, but we'll have this discussion again. But for this time around, I'm taking Louisville to get this one.
12 versus 18. Another tight one. And this is probably the toughest test of all for Google Translate or whoever is this voice thing for me. That said,
Kosciuszko.
Nice.
Well, that was better than D.I. Barvell. But yeah, so
well, let me actually spell out Kosciuszko and see what it says. This may be fun for us all.
Caleb Hamill is taking the and Siri or whoever it is taking the whippet.
Kosciuszko.
That's it actually properly spelled out. That's pretty good.
Went with the Polish pronunciation of it there. So that's right. But so that's 2 for the Wildcats, 1 for the Whippets. How about you, Wimberly?
Well, I go back to what Brandon Davis said is, you look at the schedule, they being Louisville, played West Point within 2 points. That was a 9-7 ball game. Starkville, it pulled away 36-16. They've had some big wins against Noxubee County. We know what Tyrone Shorter can do. And look, Kosciuszko is a great story, but I'm gonna go the way of Dan Lanning and what he said for the Oregon Ducks when they played Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. He said, hey, Colorado's a great story, but unfortunately you don't play these games in Hollywood or on the screen. We play them on the field. This one's on the field. I think Louisville rolls big time on Friday.
Okay.
Wow.
Wimberly, the gauntlet now. Yes. Wimberly getting it back in from when Kosciuszko shut out the Florence Eagles a few weeks ago.
When Rankin County kicks him out, he can move up there to Louisville. I mean, he's got a shot.
Louisville. But so I guess up to me to break the tie. I mean, of course, I have that, all the helmets and everything. Let me give you this. Kosciuszko last meeting against Louisville last year. Louisville won 38-7. And Kosciuszko's last win, October 30th, 2015 against Louisville. But in the years that end in 5, 95, Kosciuszko wins 14-7. 2005, Kosciuszko wins 28-15. 2015, Kosciuszko wins 46-21. Kosciuszko 6-0 for the first time since 1990. And I didn't have headgear, but I do have a Letterman jacket that doesn't fit me that much anymore. So we're going with the Kosciuszko Whippets in the game this week to take on and get the win over the Louisville Wildcats. Barn burner of a ball game. I'm telling you, it's going to be close, but I like the Whippets do a little bit more to get the win over the Wildcats. So there's our picks. It'll take me all night to get out of this jacket. Now,
that's going to be the impressive
thing. We had that scene in Tommy Boy.
Yep, I may have to come over with a knife and cut you out of that thing.
Yeah, we're going to call the ambulance to come get me out of this thing. But that's our show for this week, and we'll be right back here next week. Be sure to send us all of your big plays, your highlights, whether it's radio, video stream, or even you're a player and you just pull it off a huddle. Send it to us and get it to us on State Championships Radio Network on Facebook, State Champ Radio on X. Be sure to follow us and listen on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube, whichever one you want. Subscribe, like, share, all of that. And we'll be right back here next week with another edition of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.